Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Sir Chan. This video is our video representation for the comparative philosophy, again under our instructor, Dr. Sircio Chan. So to begin with, may we have the statement of thesis, the main thesis.
So our thesis for this discussion is philosophy is a search for truth and answers concerning questions about fundamental nature of reality, knowledge, and existence. In philosophizing, man is invited to deal with specific questions and find answer to it through reasoning, argumentation, and having their own position and considering the objections.
So let us be reminded by our philosophical question itself. What is philosophy? So for the supporting points, may we have this first supporting points is that philosophy was misconceived as either similar or antagonistic to science, similar in the sense of uncovering the nature of things. This become distinct from one another for the reason that science spent most of its time on experimentation, something that can be encountered with sense. Philosophy, to say, goes beyond what is provided by the eyes and other senses, which is to deal with imagination and reason.
For the second supporting point, philosophy invites every student or learner to philosophize that needs a higher intellectual capacity because it involves deepening of understanding about a specific topic and at the same time to think independently so that they can develop their own view, position, and search for their own answer.
Also, for the supporting point number 3, philosophy is not merely limited in providing answers as final ones, but to investigate questions, bring them into light, and open the windows for discussion.
So for the objection, so this is my turn. The first objection is that philosophy cannot exist without sciences, as there might be no reason for thought to develop even on things that do not even exist at all. Philosophy without science can be likened to a dog chasing the wind, thinking it for a meal. Thus, what it tried to say is that philosophy should make use of time on discussing sensible, if not real things.
So for the objection to supporting point 2, many strongly argue that philosophy is just about the history of philosophy and that the thought that once discussed by previous philosophers never has a specific answer or a conclusion because of objections in the present that lead many to think that truth will never be universal and the truth that human being can claim is just relative.
Okay, so for the objection of the supporting points number 3 is that philosophy is to provide meanings even without applying its points as long as it is reasonable and aiming for the good of a person.
So, for the responses, our first response is that philosophy and science are both knowledge, not only reconcilable but necessarily and simultaneous, working on physical grounds and at the same time dealing with unseen things with those which have thoughts on reality. Such are the ideas of constant change, example from Heraclitus, complementary opposites from Chinese thoughts, motion and rest, and so forth. Science provides data to philosophy. Philosophy in return opens the window for explanation and interpretation.
For the answer for the second objection, in philosophy, search for truth and knowledge is not an activity that can be finished overnight. The search for it is not only a responsibility of one philosopher, but it is a quest in which all people are invited to join. The totality of truth and knowledge cannot be accessed by man in just one time, but as time passes by, human beings grasp it gradually.
Okay, now, so for the answer of the third objection, to practice wisdom is not only in memorizing theories or putting it to mind, but to put into flesh as it brings not imaginations but animation as well. Thoughts are easily understood, for these are shown.
So, proceeding to the examples, I may have this context. Consider the context of a 10 years old child who is matured owing to the help of parents and others to learn things. It then strikes the fallacy of hasty generalization that maturity is only for adults, which is commonly attributed to by scientific observations. Thus, to learn is not merely in observing with naked eyes, but to begin with attempting to uncover the wool of reality also.
So to illustrate the answer to objection 2, through the objections of other philosophers, one claim develops as time passes by. For example, Leucippus and Democritus first argued that matter is consist of indivisible particles, which are atoms. Later on, this was proven and then it was found out that there are other particles which are smaller than atoms. From that we can see that the search for truth and knowledge never ends.
Okay, so for the illustrations of the answer for number 3, for instance, one already knows to discern between ill doings and the good, but fail to bring in reality, and even consider doing evil just because of gain. This makes morality vague and only a waste of discussion, some sort of contradiction.
So, proceeding to the insights, my first insights is that philosophy and other bodies of knowledge are not limited in offering conclusions or to give answers hastily. This encourages thinkers to continue their work through the times until reaching their fulfillment. Practicing knowledge is not only seeking for infallible data but remains in acknowledging things despite flaws, knowing they are possible to lay meanings yet with the right eye.
For the second insight, philosophy teaches learners not just about academic discipline or on how to be intellectual, but also teaches and challenges learners on how to live according to their being. As a rational being, I am endowed with reason to know the truth and gain more knowledge, which can be done in philosophizing.
For the third insight, philosophy is not only in theories, but in encouraging people to bring it in practice, for ideas to be recognized with ease if not forgotten.
So, in conclusion, philosophy is never ending pursuit of knowledge on the fundamental nature of things that does not only rely with senses but through human reason.
Thank you very much and see you once again.